Welcome back to Braintree Today. I'm Martha Constantinidis and you're watching BCAM TV. We'll be getting you right into our coronavirus updates for the week. Before we get into our COVID updates, this past week, reports were released that President Donald Trump and his wife Melania tested positive for COVID-19. President Trump was taken to Walter Reed Medical Center this weekend, on October 3rd, where he was treated for 2 days. During his stay, the president decided to take a joyride in his SUV with his Secret Service agents to wave hello to his supporters waiting outside. Many are criticizing his actions in doing so, saying it was irresponsible and put the Secret Service and those he came in contact with at high risk of contracting the virus. President Trump has now made a return to the White House where he is continuing to get treatment as he gets back to full health. Shortly after arriving at the White House, Trump tweeted a video where he talked about his experience with the virus and downplayed the severity of the virus by saying, quote, "One thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you, don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it," end quote. Since the original positive case, there have been numerous other reports of other White House staff testing positive, including Hope Hicks, Stephen Miller, and Kayleigh McEnany. Going back to our Massachusetts updates, since no new medical breakthroughs have currently been made, Massachusetts is still moving forward with Phase 3 of the reopening plan. The state will continue to monitor health trends as Governor Charlie Baker releases updates to the public. Here's more from his press conference on October 6th.
445 new cases were reported, and the 7-day average positive test rate remains at about 1.1%. Almost 4.4 million people 4.4 million tests have been provided to people here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and that number obviously is growing quickly.
The governor went on to discuss testing in the Commonwealth and how Massachusetts has been trending since the spring.
Over the past week or so, we've averaged about 65,000 tests per day, and in some days have actually exceeded 80,000. This is a far cry from where we were with our testing numbers last spring and even over the summer.
The state of Massachusetts tracks the severity of cases on a town-by-town map as we move forward with COVID-19, with most locations in the green or gray signifying low positive test rates. Baker gave some advice on how to celebrate this Halloween.
The one piece of fundamental advice we would recommend, and I'm recommending this first because I've heard from many people who've been invited to these, is that indoor Halloween parties are a really bad idea. We've said many, many times, based on the advice and the guidance of so many, that outdoor is better than indoor. And indoor Halloween parties are simply the wrong way to safely celebrate this particular holiday.
Governor Baker went on to address President Trump after his recent COVID-19 results.
I think it's incredibly irresponsible for the president or any other public official to ignore the advice of so many of the folks in the public health, epidemiological, and infectious disease community who have made absolutely clear to us all, time and time again, that this is a contagion, it is massively contagious, and it will wreak havoc on many people if they become infected.
Baker passed it over to Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito to further discuss new updates and regulations. Here's more from Polito on October 6th.
Arlington, which was awarded multiple grants to fund the expansion of outdoor dining, bicycle racks, and the installation of traffic calming measures and new signage. Boston received funding to install 4 new bike share stations in East Boston as part of the Blue Bikes program. Charlton will use their award to improve North Main Street and create new public space by the Charlton Public Library. Haverhill received funding to provide safe outdoor dining in downtown Haverhill and improve safety in school drop-off zones. Malden will create a dedicated bus lane to Malden Station, as well as extend bicycle lanes and provide spaces along downtown streets to support additional outdoor dining and commerce.
For more information on grants and guidelines, you can visit mass.gov/reopening. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh also held a press conference on October 7th where he discussed updates on school reopening plans.
The citywide positive rate puts us over 4% threshold that we established for moving forward in our phased-in hybrid learning plan for the Boston Public Schools. This is somewhat conservative threshold that we have here. The state, the national, and the global pandemic health standards generally focus on specifically a 5% test rating. That's consistent with our overall cautious approach. So we believe that it's prudent at this time to pause the school reopening plan.
With this, the Boston mayor announced his decision to not move forward with the governor's newest step in the reopening plan.
Every family, every student, every grade will continue to have the options of fully remote learning. We all know that these are trying times for everyone. There are no easy choices. But we have to follow the public health guidance, and we have to listen to those impacted around us. This decision came down to me realizing that our highest need students need the district as their choice.
Walsh passed it over to City Councilor Asabi George to discuss new plans for students who haven't been able to take advantage of online learning during the pandemic.
I've been proud to work with Mayor Walsh to secure $1.8 million in funding to support these students in their schools and to create new resources at the school level. I know from my time working on this issue that giving families with high-need students an option of safe in-person learning is the right decision for students and families experiencing homelessness.
With hopes to keep moving forward in the fight against COVID-19, Governor Charlie Baker and Boston Mayor Marty Walsh will continue to update the public as more information is being released. Stay tuned for more on Braintree Today. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Braintree Today. While Massachusetts is still in Phase 3 of the reopening plan, the town of Braintree continues to release important updates and news regarding the virus. Since last week, Braintree Town Hall has reported 16 new cases, bringing the total number of positive cases in the town up to 1,063. The town hasn't reported any new fatalities in about 2 months, which has kept the death toll in Braintree at 120. Last week, town-by-town data was released by the state confirming that about a third of Massachusetts communities, including Braintree, had rising coronavirus test rates. This week, Braintree has been seeing better trends in the data as the town has moved to a 1.38 positive test rate. Even with declining positive test rates, Braintree is still considered a yellow community, a designation given to cities and towns that average 4 to 8 cases per 100,000 people daily. Recently, Governor Baker made the decision to allow towns to move into Step 2 of Phase 3 in the reopening plan. To qualify to move into the next step, a town or city can't be designated as red or high risk in the state's COVID-19 risk assessment within the past 3 weeks. To avoid a red designation, a community must have 8 or fewer cases of COVID-19 per 100,000 residents. Those color-coded as gray, green, or yellow, depending on case count, can move into the second step of Phase 3, which includes Braintree. The shift will begin on October 5th, starting with the reopening of fitting rooms, arcades, and recreational activities such as trampoline parks, laser tag, and roller rinks. This step also allows indoor and outdoor performance centers to permit up to 50% capacity, along with gyms, museums, libraries, and driving schools. In other news, school committee and town council met this past week. Here's Petra Lynch with more on what they discussed.
School committee met recently on October 5th and had a discussion on school reopening updates. Formally delayed due to the ongoing improvements to ventilation in the almost 50-year-old building, Braintree High School students, who did not opt for the fully remote option for the school year, will be shifting to hybrid learning on Tuesday, October 13th. BHS Principal Dr. Christopher Scully explained that they will continue to have a 6-period school day, an alternative schedule on Wednesdays, and will have cohorts A and B and remote learning students continue in the same classes. Here's a clip of Dr. Scully going over the schedule for the first couple of days of the hybrid reopening at Braintree High School.
So again, here is it just spells out day by day what's happening for each cohort on the first couple of days of school. We're in remote learning right now. On the 13th, we are running those 2 orientation sessions for 9th graders. 10th through 12th graders will have a remote half day of all 6 periods meeting briefly, which will align with that cohort A orientation. This allows teachers who have 9th graders and students in upper grades to meet their 9th graders in person. But then if they have, say, an 11th grade math class after that, they can still teach that remotely. And we're going to use that day just to talk to the 10th through 12th graders about here's what to expect when you come on Thursday. And we're looking forward to seeing the 9th graders and running 2 orientation sessions. We already have student leaders from 10th through 12th grade who are going to assist with that, masked, socially distanced, but they are going to be able to greet the students when they arrive. We want them to feel welcome. We want to, let them know that things aren't always like this. We'll get through this, and here are some students who are excited about their experience at BHS, welcoming the incoming 9th graders. On Wednesday, the 14th, we have our usual Wednesday alternative schedule with the idea that we are working on scheduling a school day SAT for 12th graders. This is a lot of work by Mr. Garofalo in the guidance department, and we're building towards being able to give our students and families an opportunity that many of them have missed 2, 3, sometimes 5 times since last March. So then on Thursday, the 15th, this is where our true hybrid schedule will start with cohort B. So it's a Thursday, Friday, cohort B attends. They are in person during the day. They have remote synchronous instruction. I'll talk a little bit more about the daily schedule. So Thursday and Friday are cohort B days. Monday, Tuesday is cohort A, and then we continue on with the schedule. Alternative schedule on Wednesday, and then back to cohort B Thursday and Friday. So this is spelled out in the plan in greater detail and talks a little bit about what happens on those first days.
School committee also went over the challenges and adjustments that they had faced during the first 2 weeks of reopening. For instance, Assistant Vice Superintendent Dr. James Lee explained that they had to address the increase of full remote requests for grade 5 students, specifically at Liberty and Highlands, and the attempt to extend special education programs at South and East, and also trying to see if they can extend EL services at all elementary schools. Braintree Town Council also met this week on Tuesday, October 6th to discuss various topics. For instance, the council voted in favor of continuing the contract with the outside auditor Powers & Sullivan for the next 3 years for FY 2021, FY 2022, and FY 2023. Also, as the council discussed the audit for the Peterson pool, some of the councilors voiced their concerns in regard to the lack of accessibility the general public has had to the financials and documents related to the project. Here's a clip of District 2 Councilor Stephen Shasha with a comment.
I think that for a lot of residents, I'm very excited to hear that the pool is moving forward, but I think for a lot of residents, this stopped being about the pool moving forward and became more about how we got to where we are and the inability of residents to get documentation. And I think that at this point, certainly between now and when we do an update in October on the next steps for the pool. I just urge everyone, so Solicitor Taub, all the documents that have been sent to the council already, the original contracts, the RFP, I would just encourage everybody to dump all of that data out on the website. There's a Peterson Pool website, and I think at this point in the process, there's no reason not to publish that information. And if we can get it out there for people to sift through so that they can get their questions together for later in October, that would be very meaningful to the residents.
Then members Alice Arena and Robert Kearns from the Four River Residents Against the Compressor Station, also known as FRAX, and Mike Lang from East Braintree Civic Association joined the council meeting to request for a better alert system that would quickly inform the public before planned blowdowns and when emergency shutdowns occur, especially for those who are not direct abutters to the station. There was also the request for publicly available regional evacuation plans and a public forum to help residents learn more about the evacuation plans, which would allow them to provide input and feedback to plans. Here is a clip of Alice Arena explaining why these requests are so important.
So I'm going to back up a little bit of what Robert has said and what Mike has said, is that you may or may not know this has been a 6-year fight. It'll be 6 years in January that this first started, and we have pushed back Algonquin's timelines by over 2 years. So that's the good news. But the bad news is in that 6-year time, Enbridge has had plenty of time to develop a safety plan of some kind. There has been more than enough time, and I know that Mike and Robert have been two of the people that have pushed really hard on this, for the localities, for the state, and for the federal government to have produced some kind of safety, some kind of risk evaluation, anything at all, and literally nothing has been done. And so, to Robert's point, it's extremely important for the town of Braintree to be notifying its residents, not just when something happens that causes the loss of life and property, as Enbridge says, but when something happens like the 2 recent accidents that combined have released about 400,000 cubic feet of gas, and this was unplanned. And it's unfortunate that sometimes it is planned. So there is a something under the U.S. Code, and Mike had said, I sent this to you before, but Councillor Haw brought it up last night. Under U.S. Code 42, Chapter 116, something called Emergency Plan and Community, let me see if I get this right, Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act. And under this act, they are supposed to have a plan. Everyone is supposed to have a plan. Braintree, Quincy, Weymouth, and unfortunately, although this is cited in Weymouth, it's a regional problem. If something happens at that compressor station that takes out the bridge, there goes the Citgo terminal. If something happens that takes out the pumping station, there goes the sewer lines in 14 different towns. So it's a regional situation and something that is going to affect all of us, either from a property perspective or a services perspective, or even from the loss of life.
Thanks, Petra. Sticking with school committee, recently, committee member Kelly Cobb-Lemire made a Facebook post leaving residents to push for her removal. As a volunteer at the food pantry, Cobb-Lemire was making deliveries to local residents when she came across a veteran in Braintree who she later decided to write the post about. She said in a statement, quote, "Yesterday I made a food pantry delivery to a gentleman I don't normally deliver to. He had a Veterans for Trump sign in his window, and then he came out with an NRA shirt on. So wishing I believed in getting some rewards in some afterlife." Cobb-Lemire said there was no malicious intent in her post, but during the comments portion of Monday's school committee, Braintree resident Kim Duffy asked for the school committee member to resign. Duffy currently has 400 signatures for a petition to remove Cobb-Lemire, but 50 people from each district must sign in order for the petition to pass. Stay tuned for more on Braintree Today. We'll be right back.
Social distancing and staying home are the best ways to limit the spread of COVID-19. But if you must go out, make sure you cover your face. You can use anything that covers your nose and mouth, including dust masks, scarves, and bandanas. But leave the surgical masks and N95s for healthcare workers. Remember, masks slow the spread when you must go out. But staying home and social distancing are the best ways to protect yourself and others. For more information, visit mass.gov/COVID-19.
Welcome back, Braintree. This week, the town of Braintree has been awarded a grant from the Center for Tech and Civic Life. The $13,465 grant is going to be used to support the election work. Town Clerk Jim Casey said, quote, "It appears that the vote by mail will become a regular ballot option for voters in future elections. Processing mail ballots is time-consuming and requires added labor costs. I will be looking to use these funds to offset the cost of a high-speed ballot tabulator. This tabulator will allow us to process up to 100 ballots per minute versus the 6 ballots per minute with the existing equipment." End quote. In other news, the Braintree Chamber of Commerce announced it's hosting a virtual chat with the candidates for state representative of the 5th Norfolk District. Chamber Chair Kim Crowa will moderate the virtual event with incumbent Mark Cusack, the Democratic candidate of Braintree, and Republican challenger Frank Collins on November 3rd. Before the event, the candidates will meet with the Braintree Chamber on October 15th to discuss selected topics such as housing, law enforcement, economic recovery, and public schools' impact on business owners and employment. Here's more from Kimberly Crowa on the chat.
Things that I think are particularly important are economic recovery. There's legislation pending at the state level. There are aspects of controls and restrictions that directly affect the businesses and how they can reopen. And there's business traffic. I think there's a lot of issues that go into the economy, and that'll be the forefront of the conversation. One of the other issues I want to talk about, which I wouldn't have thought about in prior years as being a business issue, but is the public school system. We've certainly seen in 2020 how much of a business issue the public schools are, where you have parents of young children like myself trying to figure out how to manage work and schooling and trying to deal with the remote, and on a state level, what the representatives might or might not be able to do to help that situation, to try to all work towards the common goal of getting the kids back in the school on something that looks a little bit more like it did back at the beginning of 2020 or all years prior. So a couple other issues we want to talk about are housing. And of course, there's, one of the topics that's business, social, civil, is the law and order issues that are going on right now. And we'd like to get the thoughts on that. And then going into the economy is transportation. Of course, the Red Line serves as our direct connection with Boston, and most of the Boston offices, a lot of them are still virtually closed down, but obviously the MBTA has had issues and problems going past, and now it's become even more of an aspect of business that's very important for businesses that are located in Braintree and for people who are in Braintree and depending on having their employees come from other areas.
This virtual event is via Zoom, is free to the public, but you must pre-register to attend. To sign up, you can visit www.BraintreeChamber.com, and the registration link is on the main page under upcoming events. In other news, after 2 emergency shutdowns at the plant in the last 3 weeks, the energy company Enbridge announced it's delaying the start of service for the natural gas compressor at the bank of the Fore River. Since then, legislators including Stephen Lynch have gathered at the Weymouth compressor site on Friday, October 2nd to demand answers regarding gas leaks, citing it's a disaster waiting to happen. Lynch has long been an opponent of the compressor station's construction and said he's extremely concerned for the public safety, following the 2 emergency shutdowns in less than a month. Lynch has also requested the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to revoke its certificate of approval for the project. On another note, beginning the week of October 5th, Thayer Public Library will offer additional hours which will include evening hours until 7 p.m. on Wednesdays and Thursdays, curbside service on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and browsing in the library building on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays will continue. You can also place holds on online 24 hours a day through the library catalog. In more news, the town of Braintree will be offering flu shots again at the second free flu shot clinic. On Tuesday, October 13th, Braintree residents can head over to the KL Auditorium located at Town Hall to receive their free flu shots on a first-come, first-served basis. Braintree residents must be 18 years or older to receive the vaccine, and town officials request that residents bring their health insurance cards. If you have any questions or concerns about the upcoming flu clinic, you can contact the Braintree Health Department at 781-794-8090. On another note, over in Milton, Pierce Middle School is closing for at least 2 weeks following 3 confirmed coronavirus cases among students and staff. The school's closing allows those with COVID-19 and those that came in contact with them enough time to quarantine. Interim Superintendent James Jett said the school had to cancel classes because the cases forced too many teachers to quarantine. He wrote in a statement to parents and staff, quote, "With 3 positive cases of COVID-19 at the Pierce within the past 5 days and the subsequent quarantine requirements of close contacts, we do not have the necessary staffing to safely keep the building open and adequately educate students in the hybrid model," end quote. Students at Pierce will have to switch to fully remote classes through at least October 16th. Jett said the decision will be revised next week. In other news this week, in Michigan, an anti-government group plotted to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Federal and state officials announced they have charged 13 people on Thursday in an alleged domestic terrorism plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Whitmer, a Democrat who has become a focal point of anti-government views and anger over coronavirus control measures. According to a criminal complaint filed Tuesday, Adam Fox, Barry Croft, Ty Garbin, Caleb Franks, Daniel Harris, and Brandon Caserta started planning to take Whitmer and others hostage at the Michigan State Capitol in Lansing. They also planned to blow up a bridge and allegedly intended to hold Whitmer for a trial and then execute her. The men went to the governor's vacation home on 2 separate occasions in August and in September to conduct surveillance. In televised remarks Thursday afternoon, Governor Whitmer said, quote, "She knew this job would be hard, but I'll be honest, I never could have imagined anything like this," end quote. She specifically blamed President Donald Trump, who has repeatedly declined to condemn far-right groups. Trump then took to Twitter Thursday night, saying Whitmer has, quote, "done a terrible job," end quote, and later tweeted, quote, "Rather than say thank you, she calls me a white supremacist," end quote. In regards to the kidnapping plot, Governor Whitmer stated, quote, "This was a very serious, thought-out plot to kill police officers, to bomb our Capitol, killing Democrats and Republicans alike, and to kidnap and ultimately put me on trial and kill me as well. These are the types of things you hear from groups like ISIS. This is not a militia, it is a domestic terror organization. We need to call it out, and people of goodwill on both sides of the aisle need to stand up and do the right thing here, because this should not stand in the United States of America in 2020, end quote. In more news, on October 8th, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris faced off in the vice presidential debate. With less than a month until the general election, the two faced off to answer multiple questions involving COVID-19, both presidential candidates' health, and abortion, just to name a few. This was the first and only vice presidential debate that will take place before the general election. Next week, President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden were supposed to face off in their second debate, but are now reconsidering and awaiting approval on a postponed date. On another note, the West Nile virus risk level was raised from low to moderate in the city of Boston. West Nile virus has been found in Boston mosquitoes every year since 2000 and has caused some people to get very sick. Triple E is also found occasionally in Boston mosquitoes, although rare in Boston. It can happen. Triple E can cause serious illness in any age group. although people over the age of 50 are at most risk to experience serious illness if they are infected with West Nile virus. Make sure to protect yourself from mosquito bites this fall. Thank you for watching Braintree Today. We'll be right back with more in entertainment. Welcome back. Now I'm joined by Petra Lynch for What's New in Entertainment. What's happening this week, Petra?
There are lots of interesting movies and TV shows to check out this week. In theaters, be sure to watch an emotional film that follows the journey of a Filipino-American country singer. Then on Netflix, you can stream a new supernatural horror show and a family-friendly Halloween movie set in Salem, Massachusetts. Also, tune into Fox for the series premiere of a sci-fi crime drama centered on a homeland security team following an advanced artificial intelligence system. Now in theaters is Yellow Rose. This new film stars Tony Award nominee Ava Noblezada and Tony Award winner Lea Salonga, who is also widely known for being the singing voices of two Disney princesses. Noblezada plays Rose, an undocumented Filipino-American teen who dreams of one day leaving her small Texas town to pursue her dreams of singing country music. Her world is turned upside down when she witnesses her mother being taken away by immigration and customs enforcement. Rose is forced to flee the scene, leaving behind the only life she knows, and embarks on a journey of self-discovery as she searches for a new home in Austin, Texas. Then check out a follow-up to the critically acclaimed Netflix series, The Haunting of Hill House. The new Netflix series, The Haunting of Bly Manor, is a gothic romance that follows an American nanny who is hired by a man to take care of his orphaned niece and nephew at their family's country home in England. After arriving at the Bly estate, unexplainable events begin to occur. Also on Netflix is a new family-friendly Halloween film produced by Adam Sandler and Happy Madison Productions. Hubby Halloween is a spooky comedy that takes place on October 31st in Salem, Massachusetts, as the town's eccentric, devoted community volunteer finds himself in the midst of a real investigation for a real murderer. The network television, check out Fox's newest TV series, Next. This sci-fi crime drama follows a Homeland cybersecurity team as they go head-to-head against a rogue artificial intelligence system that has the ability to constantly improve itself. And in other news, the Regal movie chain, the second largest film exhibitor in the U.S. after AMC Theaters, closed 536 theater locations nationwide on Thursday, October 8th, shutting down less than 2 months after it reopened in August. The decision came after the latest James Bond film, No Time to Die, was shelved until 2021. The closure reflects the current circumstances of movie theaters due to COVID, but the chain has said that the closure is temporary until further notice. Unfortunately, the chain's closure has furloughed roughly 40,000 Regal employees across the U.S. And in music this week, fans of the global superstar K-pop group BTS will be delighted to know that the group will be streaming pay-per-view live concerts on Saturday, October 10th and Sunday, October 11th to promote their Map of the Soul series, which includes their 6th mini-album, Map of the Soul, Persona, and their 4th studio album, Map of the Soul 7. The live stream concert will include 6 multi-view screens to provide a fuller experience for viewers, and fans will also be able to watch the concert in 4K resolution, an option that can be chosen when purchasing tickets on Weverse.io. However, BTS isn't the only music act live streaming their concerts this month. British singer James Bay and his band, known for the hit 2014 single Hold Back the River, will be live streaming an exclusive one-off worldwide live stream show from Shakespeare's Globe in London on October 22nd, with tickets now available for $19.50 on universe.com.
Thanks, Petra. I can't wait to catch up on some of those films. Thank you for watching Braintree Today. We'll be right back with Braintree Sports. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Now I'm joined by Mike Wassel for the latest on Braintree Sports. What's going on this week, Mike?
Thanks, Martha. The abbreviated fall sports season is underway at Braintree High School as Braintree battled rival Weymouth in field hockey and soccer. Let's take a look at the highlights from this week. Field hockey, Braintree and Weymouth, and it's an early opportunity for the Womps, and they score right on the doorstep to take a 1-0 lead here in the first quarter, and then adding on here on the goal on the back door, it is Sylvia scoring to make it a 2-0 Braintree lead, and they weren't done here in the first quarter as they continue to pound away at it and score as Lee gets her first of the game and make it a 3-0 game, and then it is Burchill with the shot out high, and Lee right on the doorstep again on the rebound to make it a 4-0 Braintree lead here in the first quarter, and it was all Braintree here in this one as again they find another strike here in the first quarter. It's Burchill on the side of the goal, making it a 5-0 game, and then right in front it is a 6-0 game after a quarter of play. As we head into the second quarter, they broke it up this year. Instead of halves, it was quarters, 15-minute quarters, and Braintree here in the second quarter adding to their lead, a 7-0 lead, and then right in front, another goal added on as this time it's Holland scoring as an 8-0 game for Braintree here into the second half. Third quarter action, and Burchill scores again, and 9-0 is the score. Weymouth trying to get on the scoreboard here in the third quarter. A breakaway chance, and their only real quality chance, but it is stopped on a great save in net by Jackal, and Braintree with the win, 9-0 over Weymouth to improve to 1-0 on the season. Girls soccer, Braintree and Weymouth, and now it is Braintree with an early chance here in quarter number one, and the shot just off the post as Braintree had a chance to go ahead against Weymouth, and then the Wildcats trying to strike, and they do off the rebound on a nice save first, but the rebound right in front, they capitalize, go ahead 1-0, and then Braintree trying to clear cannot, and it's Weymouth able to send it far right, just over the outstretched hands in goal as that gets past Hemmert, and then a tough play here as a defensive miscue turns into a 3-0 lead, and then Weymouth on a 2-on-1, an excellent execution here on the sliding pass across. They tap it home into the empty net, go ahead 4-0, and that was all the scoring in this one as Braintree drops their home opener 4-0 to Weymouth.
Thanks, Mike. What's coming up next week for Braintree Sports?
Well, Braintree will take on Weymouth in soccer, looking for their first win of the season, while girls soccer and field hockey will face Milton at home.
Sounds like a full week of sports. Thank you for watching Braintree Today. That was Mike Wassel, and I'm Martha Constantinidis. That's all we have for news this week. See you next time.